The theme for the afternoon talk is karma and truth. And firstly, I would like to welcome our distinguished guests this afternoon, and thank you very much for coming. It's lovely to see you here. The great sages of India, from time immemorial, have engaged in a very deep and profound exploration of the human experience. They have brought, as we are endeavouring to do in our own small way here, the fullness of attention to our experience and try to understand what it is to be human and what are some of the primary or major influences which shape our lives, give some determination to it. And in the ancient texts of Mother India, one of the key threads and themes that runs through is vitally important to explore and understand, and that is karma. What is karma? And as it happens with many other key threads and themes, that how easy the original insights and understanding of the sages of India, the wise beings of India, the pundits of India, in the course of time, both in the West and even here in India too, concepts such as karma and other words, they get distorted, they get exaggerated. The deep meaning is lost in the passage of time, and they become a kind of rhetoric, a slogan, quite cut off and separated from what the original intentions and meanings were. But if one looks to the teachings of the Buddha, of Krishna, of some of the ancient texts of Shankara and some of the great sages, one sees that they are looking, for the most part, in a careful and reflective way, and telling us and giving us some kind of guidance and clarity that to know ourselves is to understand and look at karma. And the actual meaning, the bare meaning of the word in English, it actually means action. It's the closest word we have to it in English. But it's a particular kind of action or a particular kind of activity. And the way it is explored, and I hope you and I in our life will take a deep interest in the karma of our life, is to look at the past, to recognize that what emerges sometimes, but not always, from the past, its very movement, another movement, I'll wait. Open? Oh, yes, no. So there is a movement, I'll continue if I may, there is a movement from the past which at times it lands, so to speak, in the present. And this movement from the past, when it is a karma to it, the outcome is there is something, and this is a key feature in all of this, there is something unsatisfactory about it. This makes it a karma. There's something unsatisfactory. When it lands in the present, in the moment, in the consciousness of today or at this time in our life, when it lands in the present of the moment, it's the fruit of the karma. Do you understand? So there is a movement, has some intentionality in it. It perhaps has some blind spot in it. It's emerging from the past, from our past. It's moving through. And it lands here and now. And it has some kind of impact upon us. When we hold to the present moment, and no photographs in here. Bante, you tell him. Monday, no photographs. Okay, no problem. Take a seat. Listen better. Not going to listen. Action. So we're a human being, and we recognize and acknowledge at times that the old bears some fruit, bears some movement, and we are on the receiving of that movement in the passage of time. There are, in that movement which is taking place, two aspects of it which deserve our attention. One is the idea of something healthy and good, and which we appreciate, which is nice and worthwhile or whatever. It certainly can be a movement from the past. And in very simple layperson's terms, we say, oh, this is a person's good karma. That we have received the benefits, shall we say, of loving, not all of us, of loving parents. We've got the benefits of food, clothing, shelter and medicine. We're looked after. We are doing, quote unquote, good things in the world, etc., for ourselves and for each other. And one of them would be coming to India and learning about ourselves, incidentally. So in that, and about the country itself. So in that movement we say, oh, this is something really good. It's good for me, it's good for others. It's good karma. Good karma to be here, good karma to explore. It has to be looked at. The great sages of India have said to us, the development of good karma is valuable and is important, yet there is that which is more important, which I'm going to come to in the name of truth in a few moments. Sometimes we look at the present and we say, my gosh, the fruit of my past at the moment doesn't feel good at all. I feel unhappy. I feel oppressed. I feel indifferent. I feel agitated. And I don't know why I'm feeling like this. I feel greedy or selfish or anxious or angry or in conflict or whatever. The unpleasant feelings which we are experiencing haven't come from nothing. They didn't come from nowhere. They have come because they are the fruit of what was, which gathered some momentum and landed in the present. And now I don't feel very good about myself. I feel rather unhappy about myself. I'm really feeling confused and upset and angry and agitated. All those unpleasant states of mind there. Somewhere in all of that, the conditions from the past, including but not exclusively our own inner life, has kind of moved through the passage and landed. We've been on retreat here for on our eighth day now. We've been sharing nearly all of the time the silence. We've had an opportunity, sitting, walking, standing and reclining, to really be in touch with ourselves. And sometimes we wonder, English we say, God, some stuff is really coming up. Didn't I have all this stuff in me? Whatever it might be. Stuff about my parents, and stuff about my past, and stuff about what am I doing with my life, and stuff about all my self-judgments and blaming myself and criticizing. Whoa! And it's a little bit like when we put the vegetables at home or in India in the pot and boil the water. All that dark froth comes up to the surface. Retreats like that, you see, we're all on the boil here. So we're sitting in the silence in the meditation, and that stuff comes up. Now we've got to deal with it. We've got to do something about it. With the positive karma, the good karma, the loving thoughts or whatever, and the arising of those. We're not interested to reject them. But what we are deeply interested with those that come, what is a wise relationship to? What is a very important question for a human being, and the sages have said to us, what is a wise religion? Religion too. But what is a wise relationship to? Because sometimes, as we have a saying in English, sometimes the road to hell is paved with good intentions. If we put it into the Dharma language of India, we get a lovely idea to do something good for our children, our friends, our family, for ourselves, whatever it might be. We grab onto that idea. It may be some form of service work, maybe finding new ways to communicate with other people, whatever. Grab hold of an idea. And if we grab that idea and hold on to that idea inside, very easily it leads to a lot of pressure, a tremendous amount of stress, and if one keeps holding on to it, burnout. And there are people, you may know from your experience, and I certainly know from talking with people over the years, some people start some wonderful project. You got inspired, want to do something. The person acts. Grabbed hold of it too tightly, the person, he or she is really pushing themselves. It's a really important thing to do. And they push and push. And eventually, there's so much stress. The person has sleepless nights. They're on medication. They have a nervous breakdown. They completely burn out. And they're doing good. And it doesn't seem fair. Why is a person who's doing such good work, teaching and social work and looking after a community and training men and women in a particular field, why should people doing such important work end up getting totally burnt out and then getting disillusioned? And at the end of the day, when it's like that for us, we are like those old cars, maybe some new ones too, where they've got too hot. Years ago, it's a little dying species. We had this lovely car in India, the Ambassador. You don't see it very often these days. I love the Ambassador car. And sometimes the taxi driver, would stop on a hot summer's day in India and stop the car. But he turned the key anti-clockwise. And the car's still heated. It's got too hot. It's going for about 5 minutes, but it doesn't turn off. Sometimes our mind is like that at the end of the day. We've been reborn as an Ambassador car. Because we've so much stress and so much pressure with us in the doing of the good, that the outcome of it, we might be giving others a lot of pressure and hassle because we so much want our own way, and we're in the spell of good karma. The road to hell is sometimes lined with good intentions. And we want to see, am I caught up between these two? There are times, it's very tragic, and it does happen. It happens in the Buddhist world, it happens in the New Age world, and it happens in the Hindu world, where the misunderstanding about karma comes in. And one example that comes to my mind, a few years ago, when we were here in the Thai monastery, there was this terrible tragedy, natural tragedy, of the tsunami hitting parts of India, of Sri Lanka, of Burma, of Thailand, of Indonesia, some of those islands. And one of the teachers, not in this hall, thank goodness, but one of the teachers said, the tsunami happened because of the bad karma of the people in those areas. And if they hadn't been fishermen, the tsunami wouldn't have happened. And I felt sad to listen to such gross, prejudice, narrow-minded views about a terrible natural disaster where many men, women and children, animals and creatures died. And then some Buddhist master comes in. And when I quoted from this person, one or two of the practitioners in the hall, yogis in the hall, came to me afterwards and said, Christopher, how do you know that was said? Maybe somebody just said it, you're just quoting them and giving it authority, and perhaps that was never said. I said to the person, please wait here. What was given to me was a complete transcript of that Dharma teaching, which had all that in it, and it said all those who died, who drowned in the tsunami, will go to the hell realms for 500 lifetimes. I mean, that's sick. That's not wisdom. That's pathological thinking in the name of religious wisdom and compassion. And we shouldn't underestimate the power of the views when, instead of seeing karma as the sages have said, looking at the unsatisfactory influences of our life from the past to the present and attending to them, we go from that simple statement to these crude generalizations which are not part of the teaching. But to be very, very careful and rather precise, I would say, with that. So then we might ask, what do we need to look at? You know, if you and I are experiencing something unsatisfactory going on with us, sometimes we get the impression that everything is karma. We think, you know, everything that happens to us, oh, it's karma, it's my karma, it's your karma, it's our karma, it's their karma, or whatever. And sometimes, pardon me, we don't see the link. Not clear enough, so we use the word karma. To give you a very small example, what I mean here. For more than 30 years now, our beloved cooks, our Indian cooks, they live in the village here. And as you and I know, they serve, at least I regard, delicious rice, dal, sabji, 5-star chai, etc. And you know, we give them support with the wages and the bakshish, the dana, and etc. And they do a really precious job for us. I remember when I first began teaching in this hall here, more than 36th year this year, saying to the cooks, when you go to the toilet, front or back, you get the point, that after you've been to the toilet, you must wash your hands. Simple hygiene. You must just wash your hands. The soap is there, the water is there, you wash your hands. So the hygiene will give support. The clean hands, and I hope for everybody who's using food, serving, so forth, clean hand gives support and protection to everybody. Simple. I then said to the cooks, why do people get sick? Let's ask them, a little inquiry, sharing together. Why do people get sick? And the cook said, karma, Guruji. It's their karma. Not necessarily. So sometimes we use the word because we haven't looked deeper. We haven't seen the relationship of cause and effect. So the Buddha would never say, and Radhaji says there's a quote that one of our good friends who knows Pali and Sanskrit, the Buddha would never say, in terms of sickness is always karma. Conditions may be there. Sickness may arise in all sorts of forms for all sorts of people. It's not because they are bad people. It's not because the person is clinging to doing good. It's not because of any karma. It's just that it happens. I gave a talk once, and sometimes the view can arise if you're experiencing pain. Why am I experiencing this pain in the body? Perhaps I must have done something in the past, and now I'm experiencing this pain. Not necessarily. The Buddha, as one of the of course I would say this, great teachers of India, and widely loved and respected, he reported in his sitting meditation at times, he was experiencing back pain. Look, if it's good enough for the Buddha to have back pain, I tell you it's good enough for the rest of us. And the same teacher is saying he has realized the end of karma, his karma, meaning he is free from the unsatisfactory influences pushing and pulling his life around. He's free from it. He's living his life, and yet the conditions are there. He experiences back pain. Sometimes we experience back pain because of doing too much. Practitioners of yoga, please note. Joggers amongst you, please note. Weightlifters among you, please note. If you're doing too much, as an example, in the morning time here, you're trying to sit in the cross-legged position, but with your cross legs behind your neck. Then there are some who try, I've seen them. that intentionality can put a lot of stress on the body. You damage the body. It's the fruit of the karma of not being clear. The fruit of unwise intention. The fruit of wanting and desire. And therefore it has a karma in it. So this person who I mentioned about the back pain of the Buddha, and he said to me, I'm an osteopath, so I'm working with people's backs a lot. He said, where's the quote about the back pain? And I said, I can send it to you when I get home. I sent it to him there, because in the West it is said that more people miss work due to back pain than anything else. So I sent him the quote. The title of his book about people with back pain, the title of the book was Even the Buddha Had Back Pain, which I thought was an excellent title, I have to say. So sometimes we want to be as clear as possible. What is the unsatisfactory influence, and what may be coming from different circumstances? My father started smoking at the age of 14, helplessly addicted. He died a few months after his 70th birthday. By the time of his death, even though my mother finally had got him to stop the smoking, and the doctors had warned him and warned him, so addicted was he to the smoking Such a karma had been created that he, though he could barely walk, this is true, from one side of our small home to the other, one side of the room to the other, he had to go by the chairs, he couldn't get his breath. Yet, neighbours, when my mother went out shopping, would spot him walking up the street, holding the wall and the fences. Where was he going? To the tobacconist. Trying to get a packet of cigarettes, because every time my mother found them, she put them in the fire, she threw them away. The poor man died from a long history of cigarette smoking. It had a karma to it. You see, it has a karma. Somebody else may have the same disease. My father's case, it was a lung disease. It wasn't a cancer, but a lung disease. Or may have a cancer, let us say. It may have nothing to do with karma. It may be hereditary. It may be genetic factors. It may be environmental factors. And the body has absorbed those chemicals, or the nicotine, or what, or from the genetic makeup of the person. And the outcome is pain. The outcome can be a cancer. But we've got to be very clear. Is what I experience, the consequence of our experience, having something to do with my intentionalities, something to do with my behavior, something to do with my history, as the Buddha said, anusaya. It means my tendencies towards. Then I may have to look, is there karma in all of this? What is the fruit? And to be extremely clear that some things happen to us in life which impact upon us, which have no bearing on karma. Need to be clear, because if everything is karma, there is no liberation. We are completely trapped human beings in our past, and there would be absolutely no escape from it. So our exploration in making use of the great teachings of the sages of India here, to really keep out of the language the gross generalizations, to be able to look into the impact of the present, and then there is an interest, and this is the important voice of this really, the interest is, what is the truth of the situation? A rather important question for a human being. What is the truth of the situation? Meaning, the dissolution of karma, the ending of karma, when it's no longer, we're not imprisoned to it, consciousness is free from. One way of exploration, what is the truth of this? What is it that I really need to see clearly about this? So that impact, some of you will know yourself. You may have had alcohol addiction. You may have had drug addiction, sex addiction, money addiction. You may have been compulsive doers. You may have felt periods of really being unhappy or suicidal or depressed or whatever. Those conditions, if you're stressed out or whatever. And some, and hopefully all, have had the opportunity to look at this, sometimes from within, sometimes with the good counsel and wisdom of another or others, and that karma has stopped. It's just finished. One's finished with it. The addiction to alcohol has gone, the addiction to making money has gone, the habits of constantly getting angry and fearful and anxious, it has gone. And there's tremendous capacity. What has one seen clearly? What's made the difference to the exhausting of the unwise or unhealthy karma. And we're deeply interested. And the sages have said to us, we as human beings have the wonderful potential to be free of all of these unsatisfactory influences. And out of that will come love and empathy and friendship and the wisdom. And when we in our small groups today, in one of the small groups, a really quite a lovely meeting, as was reported by a couple of people, the word I, we use it a lot around here, don't we? Make too much maybe. The word I. And then what comes with the I? And sometimes what comes with it is I want, I must, I should, I have to. And we want to catch inside of ourselves, when there is this pressure, I want, I should, I must, I have to, what that can do for us and what it can do in our relationship with other people. And sometimes when it's very strong, we get quite disconnected. We push other people aside. We don't really connect. And we just want to, connect. And sometimes we hardly realize the impact of what we want. We hardly notice it. And when Radha and I was in Australia a few weeks ago, and one of the senior Western abbots in the Theravada Buddhist tradition has done something by Buddhist standards very, very radical, very, very radical. What he has done, he has given full ordination to 4 women in Perth in Western Australia. Now in the Theravada Buddhist tradition, you have the bhikshu and then you used to have the bhikshuni, the men and the women. About 800 years ago, the bhikkhuni ordination, the full ordination, it died out. Part of the reason was historical, it just faded away. Part of the reason were the Mughal invasions here into northern Europe, which destroyed much of Buddhism into India, northern India, which destroyed much of Buddhism. And this bhikkhuni order died out. And the tradition has said, for the past 800 years, in order for there to be a bhikkhuni ordination, it can only be done by women, by bhikkhunis, who have to have been ordained for 10 years. So the Theravada tradition has said, you can't restart this tradition because there are no bhikkhunis left. So you can't restart. It's finished, it's gone, it cannot come back. And Ajahn Brahms, who was ordained as a Buddhist monk in 1974, has said, oh yes it can. And there are some bhikkhunis based in Hong Kong, in Korea, in Taiwan, 1 or 2, and now, since the last 12 years, a few hundred in Sri Lanka. So he invited them to Western Australia. He gave them permission and authority, and 4 women took full ordination. Wow, did he set the cat amongst the pigeons? Wow. And the outcome of that his monastery has been expelled by his lineage. He's been, as we say in English, given the boot. And it's not because those who disagreed with the decision are patriarchal. I mean, I know some of these teachers, Ajahn Sumedho and other senior teachers, I know them. They've been long friends of mine for many years. It's not that they're misogynists and hate women, etc. It's the interpretation of the tradition. One interpretation is, if the order of women dies out, you can't restart it. And the other and the modern view is, it can be restarted by women from other traditions coming, getting it started again. This is there. Yeah. So sometimes I say all of this. We see a situation. We look at the situation. We say to ourselves, as I'm asking, what is the truth of this situation? What is the wise to be done? Sometimes, this is the important point here, it's a break with the past. It's not a karma. Understand? Karma is to keep the position. 800 years we've kept this. There have been no bhikkhunis. In the Theravada tradition, it can't restart. And that view, which has gone on, has a karma to it. And Ajahn Brahm has stepped in and looked at the situation with 36 years of authority as a Buddhist monk, as a senior abbot, and has said there is a break with the past of 800. This is a break with the past. This break with the past is a break with the karma. And men and women have the capacity to break with the past, to introduce fresh ways. And I'd say sometimes, there, Radha and I were watching, I think it was on YouTube or something. Anyway, we were on my last Dharma e-news, I put 60 YouTube clips worth watching. Because friends keep sending to me, they say, "Oh, Christopher, on YouTube, you should watch this, watch that." So I collected them, and I've got a list of 60 of them, all sorts of things. Anyway, advertisement over. So we're watching a YouTube clip of Ajahn Brahms giving a Dharma teaching on loneliness, which he might be feeling right now because he's been expelled from the tradition. But anyway, and he told a lovely story. I mean, this hasn't got much to do with the talk, but it's just forgive me. 3 men on an island, a small desert island. You know, there's been a shipwreck, and just 3 men on this small desert island. Just the 3 of them in it. One is an American, of course. One is British, and the other is an Australian. And they're stuck on this island for a long time and waiting for a ship to come by, and no ship ever comes by, and the 3 of them are stuck there. And then one day, a bottle with a cork in it washes up on the beach. It's a story. And they pull the cork out, and out of the bottle jumps the genie. You know, the genie, the shaman, whatever you want to call it. Jumps out. And he says to the 3 men, "Look, you each have 1 wish. And you have to keep to that wish. You can't change it. So the first wish that comes out of your mouth, that's it. There's no second chance." Oh, God. Meditate. Whatever. So the American, bless him, said, "I wish I was back in New York in a diner having beef burger." This won't go down well in India, but anyway, having a beef burger there and a Coca-Cola. Isn't it? It's not our idea of, but anyway. Bless him. And the moment he said that, he disappeared. He's gone. Wow. The genie, look at the genie. Wow. The wish came out, and he's back in New York. He's disappeared. Turns next to the English guy. The English guy says, "I wish I was back in London. Fish and chips and a cup of tea." Boom! He's gone. Ah. One left. The Australian. Don't feel embarrassed. We're into non-identification with, And he goes, oh. I wish my two friends were back here to help me make up my mind. I thought that was brilliant. And this had nothing to do with anything, but yes. Sometimes, of course, in the inner life, if truth, which is the liberating force, the great Mahatma Gandhi, Satyagraha. Satya is my daughter's middle name, truth. Force of truth. In Dharma, of the Buddha, of Shankara, of Ramana, of the great teachers of India, Satya or truth is the break with the unsatisfactory aspects of the past. It's the break with it. Truth is liberating. That's all it can do. It's the function. It breaks with the old which is unsatisfactory, the old which is problematic, the old which is making our life difficult in one way or the other. And so we, with truth, with Satya, we are not interested in a truth which is abstract. Oh, maybe one day I'll get to the truth somewhere. Maybe it's inside of me. I'm not interested in I've got the truth, and now I'm going to have to do something with it, or sell it, or become a Dharma teacher, or something, or whatever. Truth is the clear response to a situation which, in the seeing of the situation, sees something fresh in it. Reveals something. It brings something out which we didn't see before. This is truth. That's why I say nobody has it. And sometimes, when we bring our capacity to look at the situation, at the experience, at the circumstance that we are in, and we see there's something unsatisfactory about it, therefore it's got some karmic shadows, some karmic fruits, some old patterns and tendencies, very heavy ones or very light ones entering into it. If we touch the truth, if we see the truth that's of the situation, or in the situation, if we see it, we know we have seen it because the problem has gone out. Then we know. If no change has taken place, we might have some very good ideas about it. We might have analysed it extremely well. We might have said, wow, I am experiencing like this because I did this and I did that, or this happened to me, or because I didn't do this and I didn't do that and I should have done this. We can analyse it all extremely well. But the analysis, the view about, may not be the truth. Understand the difference? The truth makes the difference. The truth changes. The truth is something fresh emerging from the experience or from the situation. And when that comes out, we know it. Oh. And that truth can emerge out of a situation in countless ways. And we're interested in finding the truth that's not the situation itself. Sadly, in the West, we have got this idea from our philosophers or our scientists God knows who. We've got this idea that truth is the description of the event. Understand? We describe it nicely and well and give some language to it and say, that's the truth of it. It's not, it's a description. It's not satyagraha. It's not satya, as the Buddha spoke of. Truth is that exploration, and sangha, satsang, the meeting of men and women, is to see what the truth is, and see what the truth is, something can emerge out of it. And then we can find fresh ways to deal with situations. And that applies to all of us, whatever field. It's a tremendous challenge and demand for us. And whether we are senior officers in the army, whether we are travellers on the road, whether we're educators, whether we're teachers, whether we're doing important social work, whether we're learning through living a modest lifestyle in India, whatever it may be. All of those important experiences for us and important connections for us give us some opportunity to see what do I need to inquire into here? What's the truth of this situation? What is it that I may have the opportunity to see now which I didn't see before? And there's something very heart-opening and consciousness-opening. And then when the great sages of India speak to us about liberation, speak to us about being touched with truth, speak to us about freeing up the consciousness, it no longer seems like something theoretical and abstract and some mystics from 3,000 years ago. We're actually grounding that right in the present. We're looking at the truth of our experiences, what may emerge. And important in that attention to that, and this is remarkable for human beings, that every situation, every experience, every major experience of our life, with all that makes it up, our roles, our relationships, our feelings, our thoughts, over the offence, that experience, that situation, that event which is important for you and is important for me, any single event in life has tremendous potential and possibility to reveal an infinite amount of discoveries. Never forget how often you and I, we look at the same event or the same experience or the same situation in just the same old way. That's karma. We just get used to looking at something in the same old way, and we imagine we're looking at it. We're not. Our mind is caught in the looking. If we are really looking at a situation, what's true, what can be discovered from it, what the reality of it is, there's actually infinite potential for discovery. Infinite. And so when the sages tell us human beings have the touch of the infinite, human beings are rather divine in the limitless capacity, they mean it. We're not small little creatures, shriveled little creatures, trapped. There's an infinite potential for infinite discoveries, to touch upon truth, to see what is the real in the situation and what can emerge out of that discovery. And this, the sages of India have reminded us again and again and again. And as as it's summarized sometimes, Sat, Chit, Ananda. Sat, truth, reality. Chit, the consciousness which is deeply aware of the truth and reality. And seeing clearly, Ananda, the joy comes, the happiness comes. May all beings inquire into the influences of the past. May all beings discover the truth of the situation. May all beings abide with great liberation of the heart.